Let me give you 5 places on the African continent where you can live for around $1,000 a month. The African continent is most of the time overlooked and people don't really know about the beauty, the lifestyle you can have, the standards, and how the countries actually look like. So this is why I'm going to make this video for you, because I spent personally a bit of time in all of these 5 locations. So I at least have a little bit of understanding how everything works and like what are the pros and cons of these places. And this is why I want to share them with you. My name is Marvin and I moved 2 years ago at 23 from Germany to Nairobi in Kenya. And in this time I also spent a couple of weeks and months in different countries here on the continent. And this is what I'm going to share here with you on this channel, that you can get an understanding of how life is here, how you can move here, and what kind of business opportunities you have here on the continent. Watch the video until the end to really get an understanding of 5 unique locations you can stay in Africa for less than $1,000 a month. Let us start with Windhoek, the capital city of Namibia. I was there actually this year when I took my road trip down from Capetown all the way to Windhoek and like even further to Swakopmund, what's the coastal city in Namibia. During this time I had a couple of days time to explore Windhoek properly, talk to the locals, talk to the people, and get a bit of understanding how the city feels, how life could be there. There are a couple of reasons why I think Windhoek is a great place to stay, and especially for under $1,000 a month or for $1,000 a month. So I think the first one is that Windhoek is actually very, very clean. I heard about this before, but when I was there, it was, I think, one of the cleanest cities I've ever seen here on the African continent. There was no trash outside. There was nothing. The people were very peaceful and very quiet and very, very helpful, to be honest. So very nice. I really enjoyed speaking to the locals because they were very much welcoming and open-minded to have conversations with me. So I really enjoyed the time in terms of making connections with the locals, and this just in a couple of days that I spent here in the city. Another reason I think why Windhoek is quite a nice place to stay in is, first off, it's also of course affordable. Certain products are much cheaper than like in some other African countries I've been to. Another reason why I think Windhoek could be a nice fit for you to stay is also because it's first off very politically stable. So I never heard of any incidents in Windhoek. I also have a couple of friends over there like that I met in other countries. And they also told me that Windhoek, or like Namibia in general, is a very peaceful and quiet country. So they also have very much a political stable situation over there going on. And also what makes it easy for you to come there, to adjust there, is that English is spoken by everyone. Of course, they also have the local languages, but when I was there, I recognized that everybody everywhere spoke English perfectly. So this also made it easy for me to adjust, to arrive there. And even when we took down the road trip, we stopped in like very small villages, very small towns where there were very, very few people, and even all of them spoke English. So this, I think, something that makes it quite easy for you to adjust. If you would move to an African country, I think it's one of the things that makes things easier if there's no language barrier at all for you. Another reason why I really enjoyed my time over there is that the nature surrounding Windhoek, and even Windhoek, is very, very beautiful. You have amazing landscapes there. If you take a car and like drive outside of the city, it's full of nature and a lot of nothing, to be honest. So Namibia offers like a wide range of different kinds of national parks, of mountains, of the desert. So you have so much to see over there. It's simply breathtaking. I think Namibia was the most quiet place I ever experienced in my entire life. Even when we were taking stops along the road trip, I felt like I could hear this, how silent it is actually. And when you looked at the stars, it was just so breathtaking if you're like outside of the capital city, Windhoek. And so I think it's a quite nice place. And even like going to Swakopmund, what's the biggest coastal city over in Namibia, what has a lot of influence from Germany still, and like from other people that used to stay over there in Namibia. It's still a very beautiful coastal city where you have the ocean meeting the desert. So it's a very breathtaking place, very unique place. So I really enjoyed my time in Windhoek for sure. But on the other hand, of course, not everything is perfect. Let's say Namibia is a quite small country in general, so Windhoek is also not the biggest city, and they have approximately 500,000 people living in the city, so it's quite big for the country. But in general, if you're used to bigger cities and like more opportunities, more offers in nightlife, more offers in things in general, I think Windhoek might lack some of these things, depending on the lifestyle you live, on the things you want to do. So what I want to say with this is basically that it really depends on what you like about living in a place. For me, for instance, it would be the nature would be one of the biggest upsides over there. The quietness is a big upside, the peacefulness, the cleanliness. So everything is quite easy, calm, and like just beautiful in terms of the nature over there. But if you're more of an outgoing person, it might be not the best option for you because it's in general just a very small country. So you have to decide for yourself if it might make sense for you to stay there or not. But in the end of the day, it's quite affordable. Even like going out to restaurants, we ate very, very nice food, very unique foods. And it was still quite cheap in comparison to other things and other countries I spent some time in. So I think Windhoek is one of the top 5 on my list as well. The next place I think you could consider to live in for a budget of approximately $1,000 a month is Nairobi. I mean, I spent the last 2 years here in Nairobi as my main base to travel from here, to live here, to do my business here and everything. So I can tell you it's a beautiful place that has so much to offer as well in terms of nature, in terms of nightlife, in terms of activities you can do here. I think there's nothing you cannot do here in Nairobi. So it offers everything, and it's still quite cheap in terms of the budget you need to use here. I mean, I spend also a little bit over $1,000 a month, but in the end of the day, it depends on your lifestyle, but you can really live a comfortable and nice lifestyle if you spend your time over here in Nairobi, Kenya. And also for you guys who are interested in doing business here, Nairobi is one of the hubs that are recognized, one of the hubs to start something here and to expand over the rest of the African continent. And what I recognize here in Nairobi is often also a base for many international businesses that start in Nairobi or like just have their main base here in Nairobi, and they work with all these different global companies from all over the world. So I think it's a good hub to make connections. It's a great location to enjoy nature, wildlife, as also one of the most famous safari destinations in the entire continent. In terms of the quality of the food, in terms of the quality of the lifestyle you can live here, like Ubers are quite cheap, so getting around is cheap, apartments are quite cheap, and the quality of life is just very, very nice, I would say. But on the other hand as well, of course, all the cities have downsides. So as I said, it depends all the time on what your needs are. So for instance, Nairobi is a much bigger city than Windhoek that we mentioned earlier, because it has around 10 times the population of Windhoek with like approximately 5 million, maybe even more. It can be quite hectic sometimes here in terms of the congestions in the traffic, also the pollution. So it's a lot more happening over here. It's a bit more stressful and hectic. And so life here is a little bit more fast-paced than, let's say, in Windhoek, for instance, where you have a much more relaxed life. But overall, I would say Nairobi is a quite nice place to stay and spend your time in, especially if you're coming to the continent to do certain kind of business activities. I think it's a great location to set up your shop and to start from here. And everything else from there on, you can manage and like grow your business outside of the continent, or even just live a nice life in terms of the lifestyle you can live here, or if you just want to retire here. So Nairobi is a nice location to live also quite cheap on a budget without necessarily like decreasing the lifestyle you want to live, basically. So, and this can be also done approximately with like $1,000 a month, maybe even a little bit more, but like still, I would say compared to many other countries, especially in the West, it's still a very, very fair price you pay for the things you get here in Nairobi. So this leads me to the next place, because it's also here in East Africa, and this is part of Tanzania, it's Zanzibar. I spent also, I think in total, approximately like 4 to 5 weeks over there. I was there twice, and I really enjoyed my time over there. I think you saw some of the beaches in Zanzibar, like they're really like clean, white. They have beautiful water. They have just, it looks just stunning, and it feels like a perfect place to spend your free time. And it's because of the beaches, because of the people. They have an amazing culture, like with a lot of Swahili and Arabic influence. So it's just a very nice cultural place to be in. And also in terms of the nature, they have beautiful forests over there in Zanzibar. There's a lot of nothing in between these little villages you can stay in, or like between Stone Town and like the other parts of the island. So it's a very, very beautiful location in terms of the lifestyle you can live there, because it's also quite cheap depending on the things you get there, and also rich in history and culture. So this is what I like the most about it, just that it's like, first of all, very, very beautiful. You have nice beaches, but it's also the history part that's really, really interesting for me to see, like how much influence, for instance, is still there from the Omani Empire back then, and like how they interacted with like the rest of the Swahili coast. So it's quite interesting if you're really into these kind of things and just want to live a more relaxed life. I think Zanzibar could be an opportunity for you. But on the other hand, Zanzibar also has a big downside. Let's say for me, because I had to work remotely from Zanzibar, it was very, very challenging to find a proper internet connection over there. Even if everything is so beautiful over there, it's sometimes just annoying how bad the connection over there is. Because often you have like power cuts, often you have like just very, very slow connection. And this, even if you go to luxury hotels over there, you still have not always the best connection. I think I just found one place where I was staying on the east coast of Zanzibar that had reliable connection most of the time, with very, very few power cuts, and with like a quite stable connection that I could hold my meetings, that I could do my work. But it's still nothing I could personally do long term, because I need to work online all the time. If this is something you don't need to do, and you're just coming there to live life, to maybe set up a brick and mortar business or set up your life just for retirement over there, I think this could be a nice place to really enjoy the slow paced life and like relax on the beautiful beaches and enjoy the culture over there, and the fresh, very fresh seafood, and like the very fresh fruits over there. And another downside I see there is also, when I was there, luckily it was not always in the summertime of Zanzibar, but it was still already quite hot. But what I see from people that I know that still live there, or like what I heard, is that it can get very, very hot in the summer times. That some people even like leaving the island for most of the time during the summer because it's just too hot over there. It's very humid, it's very, very hot. And so you have very, very heavy seasons, especially like the summertime is very hot. The rainy season as well includes a lot of very heavy rains that even sometimes the streets get flooded. And this is something you need to see if this is something you can live with. If you really want to spend a lot of time over there on the island, you need to figure out if this weather is something you might like. But I would say overall, it depends on the reason again. So for me, I couldn't live there because I have to work online all the time, and it just costs me too much stress and like too much time to all the time figure out where I can get the proper internet connection. But if you just come in there to retire, or you have a different kinds of business in hospitality industry or whatever you do there, then it might be a bit of a different story for you. But this is just what I figured during my time over there in Zanzibar. The next place where you can live with approximately $1,000 a month on my list is Capetown. I spent there also a bit over a month in this year, and I really think it's one of the most beautiful cities that I traveled to in the last couple of years, because it offers everything from nature, from wildlife, from activities. You can do basically everything there, and very, very nice and unique food that is not even that expensive. And like also getting groceries and stuff like this is quite cheap compared, let's say, to Kenya, where I spent the last 2 years. So I think if you can get there like a shared apartment or something like this, then I think you can definitely stay in the budget of $1,000 a month, but it might also go slightly up depending on the lifestyle you live. So it always depends on what you want to do and like how you spend your time and money on. But Cape Town is really one of the most stunning cities I saw. I remember the views I had just looking out of my balcony, like sitting on my balcony, drinking my coffee and seeing the Table Mountain, seeing the ocean. It's just very, very much stunning. And in the end of the day, it offers everything from beautiful nature to amazing restaurants, over to all kinds of activities you can imagine. So I think it's a city that offers like a lot of things. But I also heard that a couple of other cities in South Africa are also beautiful, like Durban, like Port Elizabeth, for instance. What I heard is also quite livable. So, but I haven't been there personally, so I cannot give you my personal opinion on how life there actually is. But what I think, on the other hand, makes Cape Town a bit more tricky to live there, I think, is a concern of safety. Even if it's very beautiful, you can get everything there. It's a very, very nice lifestyle. You can live there. Safety might be a bigger issue than, for instance, in Windhoek, than, for instance, in Zanzibar or Nairobi. Because there are certain areas the locals also taught me not to move around in. I would say sometimes the peace of mind you can have in all these different places that we mentioned before could be a bit more worth than like the stress you have in your head, like all the time thinking if areas are safe or not, or like where to move around and not to move around to. And another downside I would say is that the cost of living in Cape Town is slightly higher than in Nairobi, Windhoek or Zanzibar, because of course it's a more developed city. They offer more things, so like you also tend to spend a bit more money on different things because you have so many things you can do there, so many offers, so many amazing and unique things, that the cost of living in general is just a bit higher. It's also a more international city, would also make sense. There's more investment from the outside, more tourists are coming, more investors are coming. So it makes sense that it's a bit more expensive. But I think you can still manage to stay in the budget of approximately $1,000 a month if you live on your own, you share your apartment, and you go still frequently out to eat and everything. You can enjoy a beautiful lifestyle over there with a lot of quality of life and a very high quality of life, just with the downside that you have a bit more concerns of the safety of the country and the political stability in this country. The next place on my list is actually Kampala, Uganda. I haven't been there myself for the last 3 years now. I was there the last time in 2021, and I think since then they developed quite a lot as well, and they like grew much further. They have like a better infrastructure now than back then when I was there. But what I see from the last time It was a very, very beautiful country in terms of nature again. A lot of nature there. They have like, you can even see the gorillas there. It's one of the famous locations with Rwanda where you can see the gorillas. And I think life is very cheap over there, like even cheaper than most cities like we just talked about, in terms of the housing costs, in terms of the eating out in restaurants cost, in terms of the activities. So I think in Uganda, Kampala, you can also enjoy a very, very nice lifestyle. But what I need to mention, things are cheaper, but you have less opportunities and less options of things you can do there. It's not as developed as some other cities we talked about, like Nairobi, for instance, where you have like a bunch of activities you can do. And Kampala is also lacking infrastructure, at least from my last visit that I paid over there. This is something that can change over time because they're also growing quite quickly. And even with the neighboring countries having a bit of difficulties here and there every now and then with like economy, with like political instability, Kampala feels like it's not really responding to these things and they're just doing their own things and growing even further. So I think the next couple of years, Kampala could be a much more livable place than now. But still, in terms of the cost of living you have there, it's definitely a location to think about. If you want to relocate into an African country, I think it could be worth considering how life is there. I actually will go there as well, maybe next year, to visit again and to just like reshape the picture I have and to see things with my different perspective now, because I really enjoyed my time there and it inspired me actually to move to Kenya. So this is why I think this is a very special place for me personally, and this is why I think you could like it too. So now I gave you 5 different places I think that are very livable for a quite fair budget. But now tell me in the comments what other cities you think you could manage to live a very nice and comfortable lifestyle with a budget of $1,000 a month on the African continent, because I would be very curious and would like to explore these countries and cities or places as well. And maybe some of the other ones in the comments would like to hear about them too. So thank you so much for watching, and watch some of the other videos I placed right here about Africa's developments, place to go to, and my journey of moving and doing business here in Kenya. Thank you so much for watching.